It was a bright day on Earth, and everything seemed normal. People were going about their daily lives, from children playing in parks to workers hurrying to their offices. The world was buzzing with life, filled with laughter and hope. Little did they know that something terrible was coming. High above the planet, a massive alien fleet floated in space. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were dark and ominous, shaped like sharp blades glinting under the sun. The aliens, a ruthless race known as the Zarnok, had one goal: to conquer Earth and eliminate its inhabitants. They had been watching the planet for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, alarms blared across cities. The sky turned dark as the alien ships entered the atmosphere. Panic spread like wildfire. People looked up in fear as the ships unleashed their powerful weapons. Bright beams of energy shot down, striking buildings and causing explosions. The air was filled with the sounds of destruction, sirens, screams, and the thunder of falling debris. In one city, a mother grabbed her child's hand and ran for safety. "We need to go now," she shouted, dragging her son away from the chaos. They could see flames rising in the distance where a skyscraper had just been hit. It was hard to believe that just moments ago everything was normal. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, a secret base lay hidden beneath the ice. This was home to the Arctic Super Soldiers, a team of elite fighters trained for the toughest conditions. They were humanity's last hope. As alarms rang in their base, the soldiers were quickly called to action. Commander Briggs, a strong and determined leader, gathered his team. "We are under attack," he said, his voice steady. "The Zarnok are invading Earth. We need to prepare for battle. It's time to show them what we can do." The soldiers, clad in advanced gear, sprang into action. Each member of the team had unique skills. Some were experts in combat, while others excelled in technology. They quickly suited up and began strategizing. "Where are they attacking?" asked Sergeant Kate, her brow furrowed with concern. "Major cities," Briggs replied. "They aim to destroy our ability to fight back, but we will not let them win." As they planned their counterattack, news reports flooded in, showing the devastation across the globe. The aliens seemed unstoppable, laying waste to cities and sending people fleeing in terror. Soldiers watched the screens, their hearts heavy with anger and sadness. They knew they had to act fast. Back in the cities, panic was everywhere. People rushed to shelters while others tried to help those in need. A young man named Alex helped an elderly woman out of her home as flames danced closer. "We have to go," he urged, glancing back at the destruction. The Zarnok ships hovered above, scanning for signs of resistance. They communicated in a harsh, guttural language, plotting their next move. The commander of the Zarnok fleet, a fierce alien named Vrax, smiled coldly as he surveyed the chaos below. "They are weak," he sneered. "We will crush them all." But as Vrax celebrated, he didn't realize that hope still existed. In the Arctic, the super soldiers were preparing. They gathered around a holographic map, marking the locations of the alien ships and planning their next moves. "We know the terrain better than they do," said Captain Ryan, pointing to the icy regions. "We can use it to our advantage." Briggs nodded. "Exactly. We will hit them where they least expect it. We can't let them take our planet without a fight." As the aliens continued their assault, humanity's spirit remained strong. Deep in the Arctic, the super soldiers trained hard, focusing on their skills and remembering their mission to protect their home. They were ready to take on the alien threat, and their determination burned brighter than ever. With the battle looming on the horizon, the fate of humanity rested in their hands. Would they be able to turn the tide against the Zarnok? Only time would tell, but one thing was clear: the fight for Earth had just begun. In the hidden Arctic base, Commander Briggs stood before his team, a group of elite fighters known as the Arctic Super Soldiers. Their faces were determined, reflecting the gravity of the situation. The recent attack had shaken the world, but it also ignited a fire within them. They knew they were humanity's last hope. "We have no time to waste," Briggs began, his voice strong and steady. "The Zarnok are relentless. We need to prepare ourselves for battle and find a way to strike back. This is our chance to show them that we will not be defeated." The soldiers nodded, feeling the weight of their responsibility. Each member had undergone rigorous training, adapting to extreme conditions and mastering various combat techniques. They were ready for anything, but the stakes had never been higher. "Let's begin by reviewing our gear," said Sergeant Kate, who was known for her tactical expertise. She moved to a large table covered in advanced weapons and equipment. The soldiers gathered around, eyes focused and alert. "We have new technology from our scientists," she explained. "These weapons are designed to counter the Zarnok's advanced tech. We have armor that can withstand their energy blasts, and new explosives that will help us take down their ships." As they examined their gear, a sense of excitement filled the room. This was the moment they had trained for, the moment to prove themselves. Captain Ryan picked up a sleek rifle, admiring its design. "This will give us the edge we need," he said, feeling the weight of the weapon in his hands. With their gear ready, the super soldiers moved to the training facility. They engaged in intense drills, honing their skills and building their strength. Each soldier pushed themselves harder, fueled by the desire to protect their planet. They worked on teamwork, learning to communicate effectively in the heat of battle. Briggs watched as they trained, feeling a surge of pride. He knew they were not just soldiers, they were a family. They supported each other, sharing both victories and losses. With every push-up, every sprint, they were becoming more than just a team. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the days passed, the soldiers grew stronger and more confident. They practiced combat scenarios, simulating various situations they might face against the Zarnok. They learned to adapt to different environments, from snowy landscapes to urban settings. The more they trained, the more they understood their mission. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the Arctic landscape, the soldiers gathered for a moment of reflection. They sat in a circle, sharing stories of their lives before the war. Laughter filled the air, lightening the heavy atmosphere. "Remember the time we nearly froze during that training exercise?" Ryan chuckled, recalling a particularly brutal drill. Kate laughed. "And you insisted we do it shirtless to toughen up." The group erupted in laughter, but beneath the humor was a shared understanding of their sacrifices. They had left their old lives behind to fight for humanity's future, and they were prepared to face whatever lay ahead. As they continued to train, news from the outside world began to trickle in. Resistance groups were forming, and people were beginning to fight back against the Zarnok. Hope was rising, but it was fragile. The soldiers knew they needed to act soon. Finally, Briggs called for a meeting. "We have received intel on a major Zarnok supply line," he announced. "This is our chance to make a statement. We will launch a surprise attack. It's time to show the aliens that humanity will not back down." Excitement buzzed in the air as the soldiers prepared for their mission. They reviewed maps and strategized, knowing this was their moment to strike. As they gathered their gear, they felt a sense of unity and purpose. "We are the Arctic super soldiers," Briggs declared, looking each soldier in the eye. "We will fight for our planet. We will protect our people. And we will win." With that, the soldiers set out into the cold, determined to take the fight to the Zarnok. The world outside was dangerous, but they were ready. Together, they would rise against the alien threat and prove that humanity's spirit could not be crushed. The battle for Earth had begun, and they were prepared to lead the charge. The Arctic wind howled as the super soldiers prepared for their first strike against the Zarnok. The air was filled with tension, but excitement buzzed in their hearts. They had trained hard, and now the time had come to put their skills to the test. Commander Briggs stood before his team, rallying their spirits. "Today we make our mark," he said, his voice steady and strong. "We hit them hard and fast. This is our chance to show the Zarnok that we are not afraid. We are fighting for our planet, our families, and our future." The soldiers nodded, their determination evident. They had gathered intelligence on a major Zarnok supply line, a critical point that supplied their forces in the region. If they could destroy it, they would weaken the aliens' hold on Earth. As they moved out, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a cold twilight over the Arctic landscape. The soldiers loaded their gear onto snowmobiles, their specially designed vehicles that could navigate through the thick snow and ice. With their weapons secured, they sped off towards their target. The journey was exhilarating. The roar of the engines echoed through the quiet night, and the cold air stung their faces. As they approached the Zarnok base, they slowed down, moving stealthily through the snow. The area was heavily guarded, and the soldiers knew they had to be careful. Briggs raised a hand to signal the team to stop. They gathered around him, peering at the holographic map displaying the Zarnok base layout. The map showed a series of large supply trucks moving in and out of the base. The soldiers observed the guards, noting their patterns. "We'll split into two teams," Briggs explained. Team Alpha will create a distraction on the east side, while Team Bravo takes out the supply trucks on the west. We need to be quick and silent. Kate and Ryan nodded, ready to lead their teams. As the soldiers moved into position, adrenaline coursed through their veins. They could see the Zarnok guards chatting, unaware of the impending attack. "On my mark," Briggs whispered, watching the guards closely. The tension in the air was thick as they waited for the perfect moment. 3, 2, 1. Now! Team Alpha charged forward, shouting and firing their weapons into the air. The noise startled the guards, drawing their attention. The soldiers of Team Bravo seized the opportunity to move quickly and quietly towards the supply trucks. The Zarnok soldiers, surprised by the sudden attack, scrambled to respond. Confusion spread as they tried to regroup. Meanwhile, Team Bravo reached the trucks, their hearts racing with excitement. They quickly planted explosives on the vehicles, knowing they had little time before the enemy could counterattack. "Let's get out of here!" Ryan shouted, signaling the team to retreat. They sprinted back towards the cover of the nearby trees, their hearts pounding in their chests. Just as they reached safety, the explosives detonated, sending fire and debris into the sky. The sound was deafening, and flames lit up the night. The Zarnok soldiers shouted in panic, trying to extinguish the fires and regain control. Team Alpha regrouped with Team Bravo, their faces lit with exhilaration. "We did it!" Kate exclaimed, her eyes shining with pride. That was incredible. But the victory was short-lived. The Zarnok, now aware of the human presence, began to mobilize their forces. Heavy weapons were brought out, and the air filled with the whir of alien technology. The humans were outnumbered, and they knew they had to move fast. "Back to the snowmobiles," Briggs ordered, urgency in his voice. "We need to get out before they surround us." The soldiers dashed through the snow, their hearts pounding with fear and excitement. Just as they reached their vehicles, Zarnok ships appeared overhead, illuminating the dark sky with beams of light. The aliens had come to retaliate. "Go! Go! Go!" Ryan shouted, jumping onto his snowmobile. The soldiers sped off, engines roaring as they raced away from the base. The Zarnok ships followed, firing energy blasts that exploded behind them. The soldiers maneuvered skillfully through the snow, dodging attacks and relying on their training. The Arctic terrain became their ally as they used the icy landscape to their advantage. As they escaped, the soldiers cheered, exhilarated by their success. They had struck a blow against the Zarnok, proving that humanity was ready to fight back. But they also knew that this was just the beginning. The war had started, and they were determined to continue the fight. Back at their base, the super soldiers regrouped, still buzzing with adrenaline. They had shown the world that hope was alive, and they would do whatever it took to protect it. The Zarnok had made a grave mistake by underestimating humanity, and now the super soldiers were ready to rise and fight for their home. In the Arctic base, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The super soldiers had just returned from their successful strike against the Zarnok supply line. They celebrated their victory, but Commander Briggs knew that one attack would not be enough. To win the war, they needed allies. They needed everyone on their side. "Listen up, everyone!" Briggs called as he gathered the soldiers in the main hall. "Today, we proved that we can hit back. But we can't do this alone. We need to unite with other human resistance groups. Together, we are stronger." The soldiers nodded, understanding the importance of the mission ahead. They had heard whispers of resistance groups forming in cities across the world. These groups were fighting back against the Zarnok, each in their own way. If they could bring everyone together, they could form a powerful alliance. "First, we need to reach out to the resistance in North America," Briggs continued. "They have been gathering supplies and weapons. If we join forces, we can plan a larger offensive against the Zarnok." Kate stepped forward, her expression determined. "I can lead a team to make contact with them. We can use the old communication channels to send a message. It's risky, but we have to try." "Good idea, Kate," Briggs replied. "But we need to be careful. The Zarnok are everywhere, and we can't afford to be caught." With the plan set, Briggs chose a small team of soldiers to accompany Kate. Ryan, who had proven himself during the last mission, was among them. The team gathered their gear and prepared to leave. They knew the journey would be dangerous, but they were determined to find allies. As they set out, the landscape changed from the icy expanse of the Arctic to the rugged terrain of North America. The team traveled through snow-covered mountains and dense forests, staying hidden from Zarnok patrols. Each day brought new challenges, but they pressed on, driven by the hope of uniting with other fighters. After several days of travel, they arrived at an abandoned town rumored to be the base of a resistance group. The streets were empty and a sense of quiet surrounded them. It felt eerie, but the team pressed on, scanning for any signs of life. They approached a building that looked like it had been repurposed as a hideout. As they entered, they found a small group of fighters gathered around a table covered with maps and blueprints. The tension in the room was palpable, and the resistance fighters eyed the newcomers warily. Kate stepped forward. "We are the Arctic super soldiers. We come in peace and want to unite against the Zarnok. We have fought and won our first battle, but we need your strength to push back harder." A tall man with a grizzled face stepped forward, his brow furrowed in thought. "You say you fought the Zarnok? How do we know you're not here to betray us?" Ryan quickly interjected. "We risked our lives to come here. We believe in fighting together. If we don't unite, we will all fall." The leader considered their words carefully. After a tense moment, he nodded. "All right, if you truly want to fight the Zarnok, we will listen. But know that trust is hard-earned in these times." With the tension easing, the two groups began to share information. The resistance fighters revealed their knowledge of Zarnok movements and supply lines. They had been gathering weapons and supplies, preparing for an attack of their own. Briggs's team shared their success and the tactics they used in their last mission. Ideas flowed back and forth as the two groups began to plan. They talked late into the night, sketching out strategies and discussing potential targets. Each member of the resistance listened intently, eager to learn from the super soldiers. As dawn broke, the atmosphere was charged with renewed hope. "Together we can launch a significant attack on a Zarnok stronghold," Briggs declared, "but we will need everyone to be ready. Our next move will require coordination and bravery from both teams." The resistance fighters rallied behind the idea, their spirits lifted. They began organizing, gathering supplies, and prepping for the upcoming battle. The once quiet town came alive with activity as they worked together, each person contributing their skills. As they prepared, Kate and Ryan felt a sense of camaraderie with their new allies. They were no longer alone in this fight. Together, they were building a force that could challenge the Zarnok. The hope for a brighter future was igniting a fire in their hearts. With the new alliance forming, the super soldiers and the resistance were ready to face the Zarnok together. The time for action was near, and they would fight as one. The war for Earth was just beginning, and they were determined to reclaim their planet. The sun rose over the battlefield, casting a golden light on the icy terrain. The air was thick with tension as the combined forces of the Arctic super soldiers and their new allies from the resistance prepared for the final battle against the Zarnok. Everyone was on high alert, knowing that this day would determine the fate of Earth. Commander Briggs stood at the front of the assembled troops, his heart pounding with pride and determination. They had come a long way from their first strike, and now they were ready to confront the alien invaders head-on. The soldiers looked focused, armed with weapons and equipped with the latest technology. They were ready to fight for their world. "Today we show the Zarnok that we will not back down," Briggs shouted, raising his voice above the murmurs of the crowd. "We have fought together, trained together, and now we will stand together. This is our moment to take back our planet!" The soldiers cheered, their spirits high as they prepared for the battle. Everyone was aware of the risks, but they also knew that victory was within their reach. They had a plan. Strike hard and fast, aiming for the main Zarnok stronghold that had been the source of their suffering. As the troops moved out, the icy winds whipped around them. The atmosphere was tense but electric. They moved through the snowy terrain, blending in with the landscape. The Zarnok base loomed in the distance, surrounded by towering walls and patrolled by alien guards. Briggs led the way, his keen eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. The soldiers formed two teams, with one group responsible for creating a distraction, while the other focused on breaching the stronghold. Kate and Ryan took charge of the distraction, determined to draw the enemy's attention away from their main objective. "Stay sharp," Kate warned her team as they approached the base. "Once we engage, there's no turning back. We need to make sure they focus on us, not on the breach." As they neared the stronghold, Ryan felt his heart race. They moved quickly, trying to stay unnoticed by the Zarnok guards. The tension grew as they got closer, and soon they could see the Zarnok soldiers patrolling the perimeter. "Now!" Kate shouted, and the team burst into action. They opened fire, sending rounds flying toward the Zarnok guards. The sudden noise startled the aliens, drawing them toward the source of the commotion. At the same time, Briggs and the other team moved in silently. They had to take advantage of the distraction. The sounds of battle echoed around them, and they knew they had limited time. With a swift motion, Briggs signaled his team to breach the gate. They planted explosives on the main entrance, and within moments, the door exploded outward, sending debris flying. The super soldiers charged into the base, weapons raised and ready for combat. Inside, chaos erupted. Zarnok soldiers scrambled to defend their stronghold, but the humans fought with relentless determination. The combined forces of the super soldiers and the resistance pushed forward, overpowering the alien guards. Ryan fought alongside Kate, their movements synchronized as they took down Zarnok one by one. They were a team, each covering the other's back. With each enemy they defeated, their confidence grew, and they pressed on deeper into the base. Briggs led his team toward the central command room, where they believed the Zarnok leader was located. They knew that taking out the leader would send a shockwave through the alien forces. As they approached the command room, they encountered heavy resistance. Zarnok soldiers poured out, firing energy blasts that illuminated the dark corridors. The humans ducked and rolled, returning fire with precision. "Keep pushing forward!" Briggs shouted, rallying his team. "We can't let them stop us now!" With a final surge of adrenaline, the super soldiers broke through the last line of defense and entered the command room. There they found the Zarnok leader, a towering alien with glowing eyes and a fierce expression. "Humans!" the Zarnok leader snarled, his voice booming. "You dare challenge us?" "Yes, we do," Briggs replied, stepping forward with resolve. "Your time on Earth is over." The final battle began, with the humans and the Zarnok leader clashing fiercely. The room shook with the force of their conflict. Kate and Ryan fought bravely by Briggs's side, determined to protect their commander and end the threat once and for all. In a climactic moment, Briggs managed to outmaneuver the Zarnok leader, landing a decisive blow. The alien fell to the ground, defeated. The remaining Zarnok soldiers, seeing their leader down, hesitated, and in that moment of doubt, the humans seized their chance. With a loud roar of victory, the soldiers charged forward, driving the remaining Zarnok back. The battle was fierce, but they had overcome the odds. As the last of the Zarnok forces retreated, the super soldiers and their allies stood tall, breathless, and battered but victorious. They had fought for their planet, their families, and their freedom. Briggs looked around at his team and their new allies, pride swelling in his chest. They had come together as one, proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. Today marked the beginning of a new era for Earth, one where the Zarnok would no longer threaten their home. With the Zarnok defeated, the soldiers knew they would rebuild and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. They had become a symbol of hope, united in their fight for survival. Together, they had changed the course of history. Briggs led the way, his keen eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. The soldiers formed two teams, with one group responsible for creating a distraction, while the other focused on breaching the stronghold. Kate and Ryan took charge of the distraction, determined to draw the enemy's attention away from their main objective. "Stay sharp," Kate warned her team as they approached the base. "Once we engage, there's no turning back. We need to make sure they focus on us, not on the breach." As they neared the stronghold, Ryan felt his heart race. They moved quickly, trying to stay unnoticed by the Zarnok guards. The tension grew as they got closer, and soon they could see the Zarnok soldiers patrolling the perimeter. "Now!" Kate shouted, and the team burst into action. They opened fire, sending rounds flying toward the Zarnok guards. The sudden noise startled the aliens, drawing them toward the source of the commotion. At the same time, Briggs and the other team moved in silently. They had to take advantage of the distraction. The sounds of battle echoed around them, and they knew they had limited time. With a swift motion, Briggs signaled his team to breach the gate. They planted explosives on the main entrance, and within moments, the door exploded outward, sending debris flying. The super soldiers charged into the base, weapons raised and ready for combat. Inside, chaos erupted. Zarnok soldiers scrambled to defend their stronghold, but the humans fought with relentless determination. The combined forces of the super soldiers and the resistance pushed forward, overpowering the alien guards. Ryan fought alongside Kate, their movements synchronized as they took down Zarnok one by one. They were a team, each covering the other's back. With each enemy they defeated, their confidence grew and they pressed on deeper into the base. Briggs led his team toward the central command room, where they believed the Zarnok leader was located. They knew that taking out the leader would send a shockwave through the alien forces. As they approached the command room, they encountered heavy resistance. Zarnok soldiers poured out, firing energy blasts that illuminated the dark corridors. The humans ducked and rolled, returning fire with precision. "Keep pushing forward!" Briggs shouted, rallying his team. "We can't let them stop us now." With a final surge of adrenaline, the super soldiers broke through the last line of defense and entered the command room. There they found the Zarnok leader, a towering alien with glowing eyes and a fierce expression. "Humans!" the Zarnok leader snarled, his voice booming. "You dare challenge us?" "Yes, we do," Briggs replied, stepping forward with resolve. "Your time on Earth is over." The final battle began, with the humans and the Zarnok leader clashing fiercely. The room shook with the force of their conflict. Kate and Ryan fought bravely by Briggs's side, determined to protect their commander and end the threat once and for all. In a climactic moment, Briggs managed to outmaneuver the Zarnok leader, landing a decisive blow. The alien fell to the ground, defeated. The remaining Zarnok soldiers, seeing their leader down, hesitated. And in that moment of doubt, the humans seized their chance. With a loud roar of victory, the soldiers charged forward, driving the remaining Zarnok back. The battle was fierce, but they had overcome the odds. As the last of the Zarnok forces retreated, the super soldiers and their allies stood tall, breathless and battered, but victorious. They had fought for their planet, their families, and their freedom. Briggs looked around at his team and their new allies, pride swelling in his chest. They had come together as one, proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. Today marked the beginning of a new era for Earth, one where the Zarnok would no longer threaten their home. With the Zarnok defeated, the soldiers knew they would rebuild and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. They had become a symbol of hope, united in their fight for survival. Together, they had changed the course of history.